The elites who run our nation call this flyover country. Big squares they only see out the windows of jet airplanes. They pull the levers of power in Washington and Hollywood, call the shots on Wall Street. They're not just distant from our lives, they're distant from our values, making decisions to enrich themselves, to distort our culture and discard our communities. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm Josh Hawley, and I believe that now, in this moment finally, it is our time. I'm running for the Senate because I know Missouri deserves a voice that is proud of who we are in the heartland. My roots are in the heartland, here in Lexington, population 5,000, give or take a few, overlooking the Missouri River, where people work hard and live right. We've got a tough campaign ahead of us, and I'm gonna need your help. To get us going, I thought you'd like to see a little bit more of where I'm from. The great thing about growing up in Lexington is this is a town where people see and know each other. I mean, you know your neighbors, you know everybody around town. When you go to the grocery store, they know who you are, and then people look out for each other.
The way it was then is the way it is now. People know you, so you don't pull too many stunts without getting caught.
You know, so as a kid, the problem with that was you couldn't get by with anything because everybody knew exactly what you were doing, and, you know, Mama heard about it before you got home because she'd heard from, you know, so-and-so told her, oh, I saw Josh, I saw, you know, so, but it was a real sense of community. I mean, it wasn't, you didn't have to try to make up the community. We had it because there were only 5,000 people in town.
Lexington is like a lot of small towns around Missouri. Josh comes from a rural community.
Farming ethic is at the heart of who we are as Missourians. It's not just an industry, it's a way of life.
I grew up in a ranching community, and the ranchers, you know, if there's ice, they have to go chop it. If the cattle need fed, someone's got to feed them. So you're there day in and day out. And Josh has been that way since I've known him in whatever job he's been given and whatever opportunity he's had.
You get those values by osmosis. I mean, you just absorb them. Josh was in my daughter's class up to the 8th grade.
Josh was a little younger than me. We went to the same schools. The teachers were the same teachers for years and years. Small town teachers, you see them in the grocery store, you know them. They know they've got to account to you as a parent because you're not anonymous.
And I knew his mom and dad, Ron and Jenny Hawley, just exemplary people.
My dad was a local banker, community banker. You know, and again, he knew everybody in town. I mean, so the farmers, local business people. I mean, that's back in the day when it was a true community bank. And I remember as a kid walking down the street with him and people stop him and say, oh, hey, and you know, whatever. And he just knew everybody. And again, it was that kind of town, but that was his kind of job.
They were such great parents. And I'm not just saying this, it's the truth. That's the kind of people they were.
Our church was the United Methodist Church in town. My mother used to lead a Bible study for women in the basement of that church every Wednesday. My parents also had a Bible study for high school kids in our home. And I tell you, as a little kid, that was big stuff because we got to stay up past bedtime that night. And all the high school kids would pile over to the house about 8 o'clock and they'd just take over my parents' living room. And my sister and I'd sneak in there. My mom's co-ed group, my mom and dad, and, you know, lead the study. So that was pretty awesome. Mr. Vial owned the Maid-Rite Drive-In. It's on the corner of 14th and Main. He went to our church and he used to make all the chili for our church chili supper. He was famous for that, served it at the Maid-Rite. It was his recipe.
I mean, that's what a town is, right? It's people. So I think that's what sets Lexington apart.
As I got a little bit older, I started to realize, you know, I'm a Midwesterner. I mean, first, last, and always. And the longer I was away from home, the more I realized that that's really who I am. And, you know, when we met and got married, I mean, we felt the same way. We live in mid-Missouri. We live out in southern Boone County, south of Columbia and north of Jeff City, out in the country there. We wanted to raise our kids somewhere that shared our values and somewhere that was a real place where they could really be from. And
so we wanted them to be at a place where you could go to the local park and meet your neighbors and know them, and just a place where we could invest as a family, we could invest in our local church. We live on a very small subdivision where the kids can just run up and down the road, and we love that. This
tire swing thing that the kids love. Our neighbors do, you know, just strung up in their tree, so the kids go over there and we push them on the swing.
It's not safe,
you know?
but,
yeah, right.
But it's fun.
But it's fun. It's fun.
Our small town struggling? Probably, financially. Our small town struggling culturally? No. You know, that's the heart That's the heart of America right there. You have to thump your chest a little bit when you're proud of where you live.
I think Hollywood and our elite culture look down on people in small towns, but it's not just small towns, it's the whole Midwest. It's the whole Midwest way of life. You know, we have a way of life here that we share, whether you live in the suburb or in a small town. And heck, you know, our suburbs are full of people from small towns. They think that we're flyover country, and they think that, you know, we're kind of the past and we're old-fashioned and so forth, but they couldn't be more wrong. Missouri deserves a senator who will respect our way of life, who knows it, who loves it, who understands its purpose and its promise. These are important days for our country. Missourians and voters all over the heartland started a prairie fire in the last election. Missouri was once the frontier of our nation, but we have always been the heart of our democracy. You struck a blow against the national media and the elitists on both coasts. Our convictions, our courage, our independence, that's what makes democracy possible. And now it is our turn to lead our democracy to a better day. But the establishment will not yield easily. In the coming weeks, they will do everything in their power to keep Claire McCaskill in the Senate. She's their voice and their vote. This year, we will take back the right to self-government that the Constitution gives to we the people. I'm asking you to stand with me instead, to stand for your own community instead, to stand for our way of life. This year, we will fight for our way of life. We will defend it. We will protect it. We will renew it for a new day. I can't win this election alone, but together, with your confidence and trust and help, we cannot lose. Let's get it done.